What's up, YouTube? Brandon back at you here again. Today we're going to talk about anvils, railroad ties or railroad tracks, and blacksmithing stuff, forging stuff, grinders, vices, and I'll show you what I got, and we'll talk about how everything is to come about, get that kind of stuff, and how you can get started in this pretty cheap to make knives, or just basic blacksmithing if you want to make some tongs or whatever. I can't make a lot of stuff with what I got, but I can show you a few things that we have made, and how cheap it was for me to get into it. You can obviously go all out and be like some of the bigger guys, or if you want to start out small, see if it's something you like, you can just start with a few small things. First thing we're going to talk about here is this anvil. It's a 30-pound anvil. I searched and searched and searched and searched. I think I said that in the other video. It's a decent anvil. It doesn't have a ton of rebound in it. No clue who the maker is. I can't find any marks on it. Paid $100, I think, or $80 from, maybe it was $100 for that anvil. So if you do the weight per pound, you can kind of do the math and see what you come up with that. I can tell you this, finding that anvil, and the guy had a bunch, but he had a couple of decent anvils. One at Peter Wright, he wanted like $700 for it. Very nice guy. Got a piece of railroad track, which is here next to it, right here. I got that also, in a pair of tongs that were they're decent. They're not great, but I think all in all I paid like $250, $225, something like that for everything I got. Had the stumps that I had made up myself, and I just got started with what I had. The anvil's not great again. I got that, and I think I got a cutter to go in the hole there. The horns broke off, which most horns you find are going to be stubbed or broke off. I guess they're pretty pointy, and blacksmiths had issues with them stabbing themselves in the legs and stuff. But you can pretty much guarantee now, because people want to say antique value, and that's what you're paying for. You're paying for not a tool, you're paying for an antique. I have another anvil that I received from somebody. It's a decent anvil. It's not top of the line, but it's not horrible either. It's got a good working surface on it, but it's not quite big enough for what I'm doing. I'm making some knives, or I'm trying to get into making knives. I used to do some of this stuff when I was younger, but you can see this here. It's not finished, but just a few tools I had to work with. You can kind of see. Now that's out of a piece of leaf spring. I made this knife, or this tomahawk. I started making this tomahawk, and I think it's cracked. It was an old piece. It wasn't in the best of shape, but you can see, I don't know if you can see that in there, but that line right there is on both sides. I think it's probably a junk piece now, but unfortunately, that's just the name of the game. And I have this one here that I made out of a railroad spike. And that's the whole spike. It's a little rusted up. I haven't got to finish it yet. Just got the forge, like I said, a couple weeks ago. You guys seen the videos on that. But that's a railroad spike. And, it made a okay type of knife. I'm not done with it. I got to do a little more forging, a little more cleanup. But, it's what you can get started with. I mean, that's, a couple $100 here. And I'll show you what I got over here. I got a few tools over here. So that is a Harbor Freight 4x36 belt grinder, belt sander, whatever you want to call it. I went to Lowe's and got some ceramic P36 4x36 Shopsmith belts. I got a 36 grit, and I got a 100 grit, and I got a 120 grit. That knife that I showed you first, that's all the work I did was on that, and the grinder that's sitting up on top up there with a flap wheel on it. You can do some nice work with that. Obviously, I'm probably going to do some file work, that kind of stuff. But I think I said before I got that belt grinder for like 50 bucks. It was definitely not more than 59, I can promise you that. From Harbor Freight on sale, and I think I had a coupon or something like that. There you go. I mean, that thing, it's not a 2x72 grinder by any means, but it does work. And it works obviously quite well. Just takes a lot longer than a 2x72. I mean, that'd make quick work of that job, and you can bang out the knife a lot faster. You guys seen the review on the Devil Forge. There she is. She's awesome. I can't be more happier with that little forge, and I mean, that thing's just awesome. It's great. The coffee can forge in the back, I don't know if you can see it. It's right behind that forge. That's what I actually pounded out that third knife I showed, the other railroad spike. I used that little forge. I made that. There's some videos on YouTube about how to make that forge. That forge still works today. It's a good forge, all handmade. So you made the forge yourself, and it's I mean, you want to talk about cheap way to make a forge. I'm probably into that thing for 10 bucks, if that. If you have a torch, Bernzomatic torch, you can make some fire with it, and you can get some stuff hot, and it gets it super hot. It's a small little area, so it heats up quick, works great. So yeah, I mean, it's just cheap, and it's easy to make too. It's not that hard at all. So over here, obviously I'm working in my garage. It's pretty tight, but I've got the old grinder with a brush wheel on it and a grinding stone on there. I don't use the grinding stone too much. It heats up the stuff way too quick, but it's a good, it's a good thing to have. And I got an old 3.5 Craftsman vise sitting right there next to it. I've used that Craftsman vise for years. I love it. It's great, and there's no issues. Got a couple of hammers from my father. They're old blacksmithing hammers. They're great. That's what I use to forge out the railroad spike and the first knife I showed you. The other one, I had some just old ball peens and some Harbor Freight hammers, a couple 4-pound, 3-pound hammers, and I did it with that, and it came out decent. And the last thing I got over there is a bandsaw. That's a Ryobi bandsaw. I think you can pick that thing up for 100 bucks. Put a metal blade in it. You can do some cutting. I cut all my micarta that I made with that. It works pretty good. And then down below, you can see you got the old hacksaw. Got a couple clamps, pair of vice grips, a couple of hammers hanging there. Those hammers are from Harbor Freight, and the big E-swing sledge is obviously you can buy that at Home Depot or Lowe's or something like that. I think the hardest thing that you're going to have to find, again, is your anvil. The anvil, it's just a hard piece to get a hold of. You can buy one from Harbor Freight, but they're not, I'm telling you, I bought one, they're junk. In my book, you smack them, you dent them like crazy just working on a piece. Best thing to do is go out and find yourself a good anvil. If you find one, grab it, because they're going away quick. And you got these shows, Forged in Fire. There's a couple other blacksmithing shows on TV. Big Giant Swords was on a couple years ago. All these TV shows are getting people amped up to do knives. And they just buy them up, and then you turn around and they want to sell them in a year or 6 months or whatever because they don't want to do it. The problem is that's what you're going to be stuck with, is trying to find that. And once you find it, it's good to grab it. If you got the money and you can really get a good one, a nice 120, 150, 200 pounder, that's really what you want to do some work with, because they're obviously got more workspace. This thing here, I mean, you can see that little railroad spike almost takes up that whole thing. It's tough to work on, but you can do the work. And again, I didn't pay that much for it. It's not the greatest either. I'm probably going to upgrade probably in a couple of months. I'm going to go get probably a 120 or a 150 Peter Wright or something like that, or a Trenton or something. But again, it's going to be some searching for sure. I know a guy that's close by. He has, he keeps them on hand. I don't know how he finds them, but he keeps 6 or 7 pretty decent anvils and a couple of, crappy anvils. But he's got hammers. I mean, this guy's got, you name it, he has it. Tongs, hammers, anything to go in the hole. Cutters, fuller dies. I mean, he just has everything. I mean, he's got cold tables. Guy's pretty awesome, and I find him on Craigslist, and that's probably a good place to start. Is Craigslist. If you go out shopping yard sales and you want to try to find one, probably the best thing to do is just ask around. I did that for a while. I did the asking around. I heard a guy on YouTube say, "Oh, ask around, ask around." Never found one just from asking, but you know, you can definitely do it. So anyway, so that's all I have for you today. One more thing that we're going to talk about. We said it's going to do the drawing for 5 days. Still, this is kind of new to me, so I'm going to try to keep it going. What I think I'm going to do is next Friday is when I'm going to do the drawing. For everybody that's joined, and I said I was going to do it in 5 days, just because I'm new, I didn't get quite as many entries as I wanted to, and I'd like to keep it fair for everybody. But you know, like I said, it's a new channel, so I'm going to run it till next Friday. All you got to do is say "I love blacksmithing" down in the comments and like the page. It's not a expensive knife, but anything is free is okay in my book. It's a Gerber knife. It's a folder. It's a decent knife. It's never been used. I just took it out of the pack to do a review on it, and we're gonna give it away for sure. I think next Friday I'm gonna do another video on finishing the first knife that I showed you here. And what we're gonna do is, I think I'm gonna do another giveaway, and I got something pretty nice. If I think everybody might jump on board for this one. It's a better knife. It's obviously a bigger knife. It's not a folder, but it's a decent knife, and I think I'm gonna give that away. So be looking for that. And again, thanks to everybody that watches the channel. I appreciate it. Appreciate all the likes, all the subscribers, any comments you have. We really appreciate it. This is Brandon with Down South Survival. I'll catch you guys next time. Thanks.